Hi guys, so I thought of making this video so that we can talk about the tracts or the spinal cord. So in this video we're going to talk about the ascending as well as the descending tracts, and I appreciate if you can give me a feedback. Let me know what you think about the video, so you can comment. You can also make sure that you react to the video so that I know what you think and where I have to improve. I really appreciate that. So let us get started, and please make sure that you watch the entire video because I'm going to talk about a lot of important things near the end of the video. So please make sure that you watch the entire video. So what are we going to focus on in this video? We talk about the white matter and also the classification. So these are simply basics, okay? And then after that, we are going to go to the main focus, the main area of our video. So we're going to talk about the tracts. So talk about both the ascending tracts as well as the descending tracts. Then also talk about the clinical implications or clinical correlations. So stick around and make sure you watch the entire video. Let us dive into it. So first of all, we need to talk about the basics. So the division of the spinal cord. So look at the spinal cord. You can see that the spinal cord has been divided into what we call the gray matter, which is the central area, and also the white matter, which is the outside area. So this white matter, it simply myelinated neurons. So these neurons are descending and ascending fibers. What are descending fibers? Descending fibers are simply neurons that are coming from the brain. In other words, I can say from the cerebrum or in the midbrain. Okay, so neurons that are coming from the cerebrum and the midbrain, they are coming downward. These are called descending fibers. Then the ascending, these are coming from where? From the peripheral going to the brain and the midbrain. Okay, I mean the brainstem. I mean that's a better term, the brainstem. So you need to know that we've got ascending and descending fibers. So those are passing in the white matter. Then, what about the gray matter? When we talk about the gray matter, you need to know that here we've got what we call cell bodies. So cell bodies of neurons are found in the gray matter. Also, the interneurons, they are going to be found in the gray matter. Okay? So mainly, in the gray matter, we have got unmyelinated interneurons and cell bodies. But we also do have a small percentage of myelinated neurons. Okay? Now, when you look at the spinal cord, you can see that we have got the anterior gray horn. This is called the anterior gray horn, and that's called the posterior gray horn. And then this is called the ventral root, okay? And then that is called the dorsal root. So this is called the dorsal root. Dorsal root is going to go where? To the posterior gray horn. The ventral root goes to the anterior gray horn. So which means that the anterior gray horn, that's where neurons are going to come out, going to the periphery. Okay, so you need to know that neurons that are going to the periphery, they are coming out through the anterior gray horn, and then they pass through the ventral root. Then those are going back to the spinal cord. They pass in the what? They pass in the dorsal root and then end up in the posterior gray horn. Now, when you look at the spinal cord, I want you to know that at different segments, the spinal cord is going to look different. So the cross section of the spinal cord will appear different at different segments. So let us look at this diagram here. If you look at this, we have got the spinal cord at the cervical area or cervical portion, the thoracic portion, the lumbar portion, and the sacral portion. So you need to know that this is the posterior part of the spinal cord or the dorsal part, and then this is the anterior part or the ventral part. Now, when you look at the gray matter, pay attention to the gray matter. You're going to see the gray matter is going to look different at different areas. So if you look at the cervical area, you're going to see that the gray matter, it has only the posterior horn and the anterior horn. If you look at the thoracic area, you're going to see that we have got the posterior horn. We also have that small lateral horn. So we have an additional one that we call lateral horn and the ventral horn or anterior horn. So thoracic area, we have got three horns: posterior, lateral, which is also called intermediate, and the ventral. Then we talk about the lumbar. Make sure we have got what? Make sure you understand that we've got here posterior and anterior. When we look at the sacral, we have got posterior and anterior. Although at some point in the sacral area, we do have lateral as well. Now, why are we talking about lateral? Lateral gray horn, you need to know that that's where the sympathetic nerves are coming out through. So sympathetic nerves, we know the sympathetic chain. Where is it found? So it's going to be found in the thoracic area. So in the thoracic area, from T1 to L2, that's where we've got the sympathetic chain. So there you're going to have lateral gray horn. So it simply means that lateral gray horn, that's where sympathetic nerves are coming out. But again, we also have the sympathetic nerves that come out from S2 to S4. So sacral vertebra 2, or sacral level 2 to sacral level 4. Okay, so S2 to S4, you're going to find that there are going to be some nerves that are going to come out that makes the sympathetic system. So that's why we are saying that S2 to S4 you're also going to have lateral gray-on. So S2 to S4 you find lateral gray-on, as well as T1 to L2. So T1 to L2 there is lateral gray-on, as well as S2 to S4 there is lateral gray-on. Okay, so hopefully that is very clear. So when we talk about the white matter of the spinal cord, I want you to know that it's simply a mixture of the nerve fibers, the neuroglia. Neuroglia are simply supporting cells. We have got supporting cells such as the ependymal cells. We have got the astrocytes. We have got the oligodendrocytes. Those are supporting cells. They support the neurons. So those are going to be found in the white matter as well. We also have got the blood vessels right there. Okay, you need to know that the white matter surrounds the gray matter, which is at the center. Gray matter is at the center, and then white matter contains what we call myelinated nerve fibers. Now, there are three main types of fibers that you are going to find. Three main types of fibers that you are going to find in the white matter. So these fibers, we've got the sensory, the motor, and association. So when we talk about sensory fibers are simply fibers that are taking information from the periphery, taking them where? To the central nervous system. So central nervous system is simply comprises of the spinal cord and the brain. Okay? So when I say spinal cord, I mean including the brainstem as well, plus the brain. So all those, they are part of the central nervous system. So fibers that are moving from the periphery going upwards. So these green fibers, these are sensory fibers. They are also what we call ascending tracts. Then we've got those fibers that are coming from the brain, coming downward, going to the periphery. These are called motor fibers. Okay, so these are important in what? In sending motor information for muscle contraction. And also what we call association fibers. Association fibers, they're found mainly in the brain, but can also be found in the spinal cord. So these, what are they doing? They are simply connecting one part to the other part within the same area. Okay, so for example, if it's in the brain, these are going to connect point A to point B in the brain, but within the same cerebral hemisphere. So if it's in the spinal cord, they are going to be in the same column. Okay, they're going to be in the same column. So we'll talk about the columns in the next part. So these are the columns. Okay, so the divisions of the white matter that you can see. So this is the white matter. So this white matter, if you look at here, we have got the gray matter. This is the gray matter, and then this is the white matter. So this white matter, it has been partitioned in two parts by the gray matter. So you can see this is the gray matter. Okay, this is the gray matter. It's making this part here. This is white matter behind. This is white matter laterally, and this white matter anteriorly. So the white matter that you are going to find behind here, this is what we call the posterior white column. We also call it funiculus. So whenever you hear posterior white column or funiculus, we're simply talking about what? We're simply talking about this posterior white matter. Then apart from that, we also have got what we call the lateral white column or funiculus, which is here. So funicular means plural, funiculus means single. Okay, so that is what we call lateral white column, which is there, or what lateral white funiculus. And we also have got what we call the anterior white column. Okay, anterior white column. And then we also have what we call the anterior white commissure. Okay, so you need to know those are simply divisions of the white matter. Let's talk about the tracts that are found in the spinal cord. So this is a cross section of the spinal cord. We can see we have got the gray matter at the center. Then we also have got the tracts. Okay, so we have got different tracts there. So you can see that we have got these tracts here, as well as those. So we're going to talk about the tracts that are passing the spinal cord. Then we'll talk about their origin, their cause, and their terminations. That's what we are going to look at. So if you look at here, we have got the tracts. So this side we've got the ascending tracts, this side we've got the descending tracts. So the ascending tracts, if you look behind here, in the posterior white funiculus, also called posterior white column. What can you see? We have got what we call the fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. Fasciculus gracilis, it's simply a group of ascending fibers. You can see here, that is fasciculus gracilis. We also call it the glacial tract. So we've got fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. So you need to know that the fasciculus gracilis is more medial, and then fasciculus cuneatus is lateral. So it's fasciculus cuneatus, fasciculus gracilis. Have you seen? Now, these two, they make what we call the dorsal white column lemniscus pathway. Okay, dorsal white column medial lemniscus pathway. That's the full name. Dorsal white column medial lemniscus pathway. It's made up of two things: fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. So this is carrying. It's going to be carrying what? It will be carrying sensory information all the way to the brain. Okay, so you need to know that that is very important. And it's what kind of information does it carry? So that carries what we call proprioception. So you need to know that fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus carries proprioception, kinesthesia, discriminative touch, and vibration. Now, what is proprioception, kinesthesia, discriminative touch, and vibration? Okay, so when I say proprioception, it's the same thing as kinesthesia. So this is simply sense of movement or sense of position. So for example, when you're walking, you'll be able to feel that you're walking. Or maybe you're able to know that my nose is located on this part, my chest is located on this part. Even if you close your eyes, if we closed your eyes, you'll still be able to touch your nose. Unless you've got a condition, maybe there's a problem. But if you're just okay, you'll be able to locate the position of of your body parts. So that is what we are calling what? Proprioception or kinesthesia. So that is being carried by the dorsal white column medial meniscus pathway, which is made up of fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. Okay. Also, discriminative touch. You need to remember that discriminative touch is also being carried by these same tracts. And what is discriminative touch? This is also what we call fine touch. So fine touch is made up of three things that you have to know. We've got what we call tactile localization. So for you to be able to localize what? Touch. That is tactile localization. If you're able to localize touch, and then you also have what we call two-point discrimination. Two-point discrimination is simply to be able to differentiate two points that are closer to each other. Okay? That is what we call two-point discrimination. Then we also have what we call stereognosis, which simply means being able to recognize things by their shape. Okay? So maybe you touch something and you feel the shape, you'll be able to recognize that this is a cup, this is a nail, this is a spoon. You'll be able to recognize. So, stereognosis, two-point discrimination, and tactile localization. These three things are what makes what we call discriminative touch or fine touch. So when these three things are okay, we're going to say that fine touch or discriminative touch is all right. Okay, so remember, discriminative touch or fine touch, proprioception, which is also called kinesthesia, and vibration are carried by dorsal column medial meniscus pathway. Then, what else do we have? Other ascending fibers that we have, we've got what we call the spinocerebellar tract that we can see. This is the spinocerebellar tract. When we talk about spinocerebellar tract, I want you to remember that we have got two types. We've got the posterior as well as the anterior. Okay, so what are they doing? These are guarding what? Proprioception as well. So that is posterior and anterior spinocerebellar tracts. Then, apart from that, what else do we have? We also have what we call the lateral spinothalamic tract, which is here. Lateral spinothalamic tract is also an ascending fiber. This one, what is it doing? It's carrying pain and temperature. Okay, it's carrying pain and the temperature. Then, apart from that, what do we have? We also have got what we call the anterior spinothalamic tract. What is it doing? This carries simple touch and the pressure. So the anterior spinothalamic tract, we also call it the ventral spinothalamic tract. It carries simple touch and pressure. Then we also have what we call spinoreticular tracts, as well as what we call the spinoolivary tracts. Okay. So you can see them, and then you need to know that these they are going to help in what? We also have what we call spinotector tract. They help in spinal visual reflexes. Okay, the spinotector tract, spinal visual reflex. Okay, so those are the ascending fibers that you have to note. Then I've got the descending fibers that are in red. So descending fibers, what are these? So if you look at here, we've got what we call lateral reticulospinal tract. We've got lateral corticospinal tract, the lumbrospinal tract, the medial reticulospinal tract, the anterior corticospinal tract, the vestibulospinal tract, the tectospinal tract. Okay, so all these, they are going to the muscles. They are going to do what? They are going to help stimulate the extensors as well as the flexors. Okay, so I'll talk about the difference. I'll talk about the difference that are going to be there. So some, they stimulate the flexor muscles, others they stimulate the extensor muscles. Okay, those are the descending tracts. So descending tracts, these are motor neurons. Then the ascending tracts, these are sensory neurons. So please don't forget that. I just want you to remember the location of these tracts, because it's going to help you when we talk about the cord syndromes. So we've got the anterior cord syndrome, the posterior cord syndrome, the central cord syndrome. It's going to help you to remember the signs and symptoms, because let's imagine that someone has got posterior cord syndrome. You damage what? This posterior part. The posterior what? The posterior white funiculus. Okay, if you damage that funiculus there, the posterior funiculus, in other words, if you damage the posterior funiculus, what's going to happen? You're going to damage what? The gracilis tract, the glacial tract, and the cuneate tract. If you damage those, what do you think is going to happen? Someone is going to lose what? Is going to lose vibratory sensation, discriminative touch sensation, and the proprioception. Okay? So you need to understand their importance. So understand the positions. It's going to help you to remember. Because just remember which tract passes here. Okay, it's this tract. Okay, if I damage this part, let's say if it's anterior cord syndrome, I damage my anterior part. It means I'm going to lose what? I'm going to damage the anterior corticospinal tract. I'm going to damage it. I'm going to damage the vestibulospinal tract. I'm going to damage the anterior spinothalamic tract. All those are going to be damaged. So what you're going to experience if you damage those? You can only know what you're going to experience when you know what these do. What's their function? So corticospinal tract, we know is for muscles. Okay? So if you damage that, it's going to be what? Some paralysis. Then if you talk about anterior spinothalamic tract, you say this is for what? It's for going to be for simple touch. Okay? It's for simple touch. So if you damage that, what's going to happen? You lose what? Simple touch sensation and also pressure. You're going to lose that. Okay, if you damage the tectospinal tracts, these are innervating the flexors. So if you damage them, you're going to lose what? Flexor contraction, leading to paralysis. So you need to understand, just look at the tracts. It's going to help you to remember. Hopefully that is clear. So we can start with the ascending tracts. We're going to start with the ascending tracts and look at them. So what are these ascending tracts? We have got, number one, what we call the lateral spinothalamic tract. Lateral spinothalamic tract is what is carrying what? It's carrying pain and thermosensation or temperature. Then the anterior spinothalamic tract, what is it for? Like remember I said it's for light touch, which we also call crude touch. Then it's also for non-discriminative touch. It's also for pressure, tickle, and itch. So that is carried in the anterior spinothalamic tract. So it means that when you damage that tract, you are going to lose all those things. Then other ascending tracts, we have got the dorsal column meniscus pathway, which consists of what? The fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. So if you damage these, you are going to lose what? The fine touch, 2-point discrimination, vibration, conscious proprioception. Then also the ascending tracts also have what we call the anterior spinocerebellar tract. This one is for unconscious proprioception. So you need to understand this one, spinocerebellar tract, anterior spinocerebellar tract, it takes information to the cerebellum. The cerebellum is for unconscious proprioception. Then this one here, the dorsal column medial meniscus pathway takes information to where? To the cerebrum. So that's why it's calling for conscious proprioception. Okay? Then we also have what we call the posterior spinocerebellar tract, which is for unconscious proprioception and fine movements. Okay, so remember these two are both involved in what? In unconscious proprioception. Okay, so we can see these are the fibers that we've talked about. So we can start with what we are calling the lateral spinothalamic tract. So lateral spinothalamic tract, what should you know about it? So you need to know that the lateral spinothalamic tract, this one, it is the one that is carrying pain and temperature. So you need to know that these tracts, when they are moving, because these are ascending tracts, they are moving from the peripheral going to the central nervous system. So they have got different neurons that are going to what? To transmit information. So we have got what we call the first order neurons, second order neurons, and what we call the third order neurons. So we need to know that their receptors are free nerve endings. So the free nerve endings are able to detect what? Pain. They act as nociceptors, and also they're able to detect temperature. So when they detect temperature, they are going to send information, okay, in the nerve. So that nerve is going to pass in the dorsal root. Okay, it passes in the dorsal root, and it has got a ganglia in the dorsal root ganglia, and then it's going to continue and it's going to synapse in the posterior gray-on. So this neuron that is coming from the periphery all the way synapsing in the posterior gray-on, we call it the first order neuron. So first order neurons, they are going to what? To go to the posterior root ganglion or the dorsal root ganglion. That's where the cell bodies are. And remember, these are what we call pseudounipolar neurons. Pseudounipolar neurons are going to be like this. That is a ganglion. I mean, that's a cell body like that. So cell body is going to be at the center like that, and then it's fiber like this. These are what we call pseudounipolar neurons. So you need to know that the sensory neurons, the first order sensory neurons are going to be pseudounipolar. What do I mean? I mean that their cell bodies are going to be in the dorsal root ganglion, and then they have got two extensions. One extension, it goes to the periphery. The other extension goes to the posterior gray-on, as you can see in this picture. So you need to know that sensory, first order neuron, for sensory, you need to know that they are what? They are pseudounipolar neurons. So the first order is going to be have cell body in the posterior root ganglion, and then these neurons, they are going to synapse where they're going to synapse in the lex laminae. Which lex laminae? The synapse in lex laminae 3 and 4 as well. Okay? Even sometimes laminae 2, lex laminae 2, they're going to synapse there as well. So they're going to synapse in those lex laminae. Okay? All right. So I hope everything is okay. So just check the video. Just a minute. Okay, so we proceed. Okay, so I want you to know that the first order neurons or the lateral spinothalamic tract is going to do what? It's going to terminate in the posterior gray-on. Specifically, it's going to terminate in the lamina 1 as well. Lamina 1, lamina 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Lex lamina 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's where it terminates. Please don't forget that. Then the second motor neurons, second order neurons. The second order neurons are going to start from there now. From which lamina? Second order neurons, they start from lamina 1. Lamina 1, which nucleus is found in lamina 1? It's the posterior marginal nucleus. That's where they are going to start from. So second order neurons, they'll start from lamina 1, those green ones, they'll start from lamina 1 or posterior marginal nucleus. They're also going to start from what we are calling as the lamina 3, okay, and 4 as well. So lamina 1, 3, and 4. They are going to start from there. And also including Lamina 1, 3, and 4. Yes, those are the laminas that where they're going to start from. Okay, so they start from lamina 1, 3, and 4, and then they're going to ascend upward. Now, someone would ask, why don't they start from lamina 2? Why not lamina 2? Remember, lamina 3 and 4, there's what we call the nucleus proprius. So remember, let me just repeat. I said first order neurons, they are going to end in lamina 1, 2, 3, and 4. But second order neurons, they start from next lamina 1, 3, and 4, not lamina 2. That's why you see they've put question mark there. They don't start from lamina 2. Lamina 2, we have got what we call substantia gelatinosa of Rolando. They don't start from there. Why? Because some neurons from lamina 2, they move and they project to lamina 3 and 4. Have you seen? So some neurons from lamina 2, they connect to lamina 3 and 4. So instead of starting from lamina 2, second order neurons start from lamina 1, 3, and 4. Because 3 and 4 are connected to lamina 2. Yes, that's the reason. So they are going now to ascend. So these are called second order neurons. They will ascend all the way to the thalamus. So when they reach the thalamus here, and by the way, I forgot this. They decassate. So they are going to cross. They are going to cross and come to the other side and then ascend upward. They come to the lateral side, opposite lateral side, and then ascend upward. Okay? That's what happens. That's the lateral. That's why you find that when you damage the lateral, if you damage this left lateral spinothalamic tract, you are going to lose the pain and temperature sensation on the contralateral side. Why? Because they are going to decassate. They decassate where? They are going to decassate. You need to know they decassate here afterward, after synapsing there. Second neurons are going to decassate, and then they are going to do what? They are going to ascend upward. So when they ascend upward, they are going to go, and then they are going to reach the thalamus. From thalamus, they are going to synapse. And which nucleus in the thalamus? So the synapse in what we call the ventral posterolateral nucleus. So remember, second, they are going to synapse in the ventral posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus. Then from there, we're going to have neurons that are going to start going to the cerebrum. So these are called now third order neurons. So I've got the first, the second, and the third. So third are starting from the ventral posterolateral nucleus going to the cerebrum. Second are starting from lamina 1, 3, 4, or posterior marginal nucleus, and what we call the nucleus proprius. They start from there and then they ascend, they go to the opposite side, cassette, ascend upward, and synapse in the ventral posterolateral nucleus. Okay? That is the course. Okay? So you need to remember that. So they are going to go where? To the posterior central gyrus. That's where they are going to ascend. So third order neurons, they start from the ventral posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, and then they are going to synapse there. That is on the lateral spinothalamic tract. So remember, the decassation is very, very important. So now let's talk about the anterior spinothalamic tract. When we talk about the anterior, where is it coming from? Where is it starting from, and where is it ending? So when we talk about the anterior spinothalamic tract, you need to understand that this one is starting from what we call the Pacinian corpuscles. Okay? So Pacinian corpuscles, what are these doing? So these receptors, they are very important. What are they doing? So you need to know that these are going to be important for things such as what? Pressure. Okay? They are going to help us detect things like pressure. So, and also Pacinian corpuscles are very important also for things like vibration as well. Mainly vibration. Okay? So, these are receptors. So, these receptors, what are they going to do? They are going to send information to the first order neurons. So, they are connected to the first order neurons. So, they send information to the posterior root ganglion. And then the posterior root ganglion, what's going to happen? Remember the same thing. Next laminae 3 and 4 and 2 and 1. That's why the first order neuron is going to synapse. And then from there, we are going to have fibers arising from next lamina 3 and 4. So remember, here is 3 and 4. That's where they are going to come. Talk about gratinosa. We don't really know much about it. That's why I put even a question mark there. But most books will tell you that fibers, second order neurons will start from lamina 3 and 4 for the anterior spinothalamic tract. For the lateral, it's 1, 3, and 4. For anterior, it's 3 and 4. So when they start from the second order neurons, they're going to what? To come now, decassette, they come in front. When they come in front, they are going to ascend upward. These are second order neurons. They are going to ascend upward. Where are they going? These, when they ascend upward, they are also going to the ventral posterolateral nucleus of thalamus. When they synapse there, we are going to have the third D order neurons. These are starting from there and then going to the posterior central gyrus. So that is about the anterior spinothalamic tract. So remember, all these are decasseting, but the position where they are going, we said the lateral, it will go laterally, the anterior will go anterior, but they both decasseting. So decassation is very important because they can ask you what's going to happen when we damage what? When we damage, let's say, the anterior, where is the loss of sensation going to be experienced? Is it on the epicentral side or contralateral? So remember, it's going to be contralateral. Okay, and what are we losing? Remember, these they are carrying mainly crude touch, pressure. Some are also even a little bit of vibration, but mainly it's going to be crude touch and the pressure. Okay, so remember that. So that is on the anterior and the lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay. Okay, so I think let me make another video that I'm gonna upload that you can watch. So we'll continue from where we've ended in the next video.